Well, good evening, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, and thank you for joining me on another evening of In Review. Um, there's so many different shows, Talking Sip, the late one spills, but tonight is In Review. In Review, where we look at what is your news. What is the news that you have? What's the news that you have in mind? You know, where the headlines is speak of so many different news, so many different things. Are we going to talk about the Middle East? Is what's going on with Russia and Ukraine? Uh, the far right is increasing Argentina in Dutch land. I mean, what's going on? What's top news? What's your latest news? You know, in Jamaica, election footing. In the UK, election footing. You know, of course, atrocities all over the place at the same time, But it's another evening, and we're going to look at some of the news. Greetings to you, Mr. IC3, Black Reparation Nation. Only you should come on the show, most definitely. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you, those on Instagram, those on TikTok, those on Facebook, and those on YouTube. And I'm going to bring in Garry, and we just go straight at it and just go for it. Garry, how are you doing, sir?
Not
That's
bad,
nice.
not bad.
So like you sound like you're in the beach, man. Is that some? Are you in some? Are you on some beach site or something like that? Are you a shh? Last week you're on the
No,
rooftop.
no. Yes, I was on the rooftop last week, but this week I could be in the beach somewhere. Just that my virtual background will not
Is
allow me to show that I
so
am
your
by
your
the beach.
your your virtual background is deceptive.
Yes.
Deceptive. You shouldn't operate with those sort of words. Deception. Tongue in cheek
Well,
thing. you know. Anyway, it's how's the week been? It's getting a bit chilly here in the UK, isn't it? In at this time.
it's getting cold. It's getting cold. I wouldn't say chilly. It is.
Yeah,
It is cold.
yeah. But I still walk, and I'm gonna walk tomorrow morning, even if it is, um, you know, cold. I've done 5 degrees. I'm waiting for it to go -1, and I'll be there, out there in the cold, and say, yes, we can do it. Yes, we can. Walk, and so like that. Well, listen, this week has been I keep saying it all the while, but it is actually. I was going to say an interesting week, but each week is an interesting week. Um, and I'll start off myself first with the autumn statement, because that has been the big thing which is out there. The Chancellor's autumn statement, and what does it mean? Um, did you set aside time to listen to the Chancellor?
I didn't. I didn't have the time to listen to him on the day.
You didn't have time to listen to the Chancellor. Okay, okay.
No, I didn't.
Well, that's very interesting, because that was right after Prime Minister's question time, and many people dissected whether it was a budget for an election footing, or was it something which is genuine, trying to help the people as much as possible, you know? And I think in any time like this, because right now, like in Jamaica, there's a similar thing which is happening to a certain extent, whereby you're having budgets, and you're having giveaways. They call it the giveaway time. They call it a season of goodwill, a season of cheer. So they're gonna make it. I'm gonna mute you a bit, Gary, because at the same time I'm hearing a little distorted sound. So I'm just mute you a bit until you speak, okay? You know,
Okay.
yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the 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 budget this week by the Chancellor. This has been something which has been big, and what they talk about, what the autumn statement means for you and your money, you know, and why the change on the autumn statement, and if you look at it, one of the things that they've been talking about is tax cut, you know, NIS tax cut, and all those sort of things. And if I look at it, in a nutshell here, and I bring in Gary in a second, what they say is a tax cut, but remember the bigger picture. In a speech focused at least partially on an upcoming election, Chancellor Jeremy Hunt has outlined his choices and decisions about the nation's finance. Um, you know, in turn, that will affect the money and prospects for individuals across the country. And that is something which is very interesting, because we all talk about that there's a need so much for money to be in people's pockets. Um, Gary, I don't know if you sense that this budget was a giveaway budget, putting you on election footing, or genuinely to help the people. You think the
Well, I
genuine
mean,
was?
I don't know. I mean, every government, as they approach election time, they do put little sweeteners here and there at least. I mean,
Mm,
they do want the population to vote for them. You know, the opposition can't do anything
yeah.
because they're not in power. They're not the ones that is affecting the nation immediately. So whatever the government can do, for instance, I mean, if the government didn't do anything at all for the population and things just got worse, then obviously the
Mm,
people are not going to vote for them, are they? So they're going to
mm,
do something so as to give a little relief if there's problems or if there's pressures. Obviously, they're
mm,
going to do something beforehand in order to win the vote and the confidence of the people. So
yeah.
I believe that there is some degree of psychology being used.
If I juxtapose and I touch on Jamaica for argument's sake, there's a pending election which is supposed to take place, which is a local government election. But there are sounds on the grounds to a certain extent that there's going to be possible general election. So they are actually, without a budget debate or without an autumn statement, they are giving things, like 22 million will be given to MPs there, but not directly to the MPs, but through some fund that they have there. There's going to be increase in taxi fares, decrease in the bus fares in JUTC as well, and many people are saying it's like a sweetener preparing for an election, because people feel good doing when it goes towards an election. That means to say they can feel something in their hands. Likewise, in the UK, many people are saying at the same time that this is something catered or geared up towards an election. That they call it election footing. When I was in the park the other day, I mentioned something about um, what footing are you on? Many people are pretty on a footing. Hamas and Israel and Hamas, they're both on war footings. Both of them want to get rid of each other. You know, and so in this particular case now, um, this is considered by many as a footing, election footing. For some, it is a way that they can actually have some benefit. Mm, yeah. And somebody just said, I wrote to the Chancellor of the Exchequer regarding the endorsement of the ADA report. I was advised to do so by the Bank of England, waiting a reply. Okay, let us know when you get a reply. IC3. Yeah. So what's your what they're talking about is minimum wage to rise in April. Yeah. Those on the lowest income will receive a pay rise in April, with 21 and 22-year-old getting the big increase. The change means the national living wage for over 23 years rise from 10.42 an hour to 11.44 an hour. Those aged 21 to 22 will be eligible for the national living wage for the first time, so they'll also receive 11.44 an hour, up from 10.18 an hour. National minimum wage for 18 to 20-year-old rises from 7.49 to 8.60 an hour, and the national minimum wage for under 18 will rise from 5.28 to 6.40. Do you think the big belly man will come out and say interest rate, Gary?
Well, let's hope that he doesn't. I mean, it's
Mm.
you see, the big belly man, as you call him, he wants to restrict spending, doesn't he? He wants to hold spending. He wants saving. That's why
Yes,
they raise interest rates, isn't it? So that the nation will save. But let's hope that he doesn't raise it. But let's hope also. Well, it's um it's an unfortunate time because look, I mean, what season are we in, and
Christmas.
what do the shops want? Yeah, exactly, and what do the shoppers what do the shops want? They want the shoppers to come in and spend.
Yes,
So it's a bit difficult at this time because people will borrow. People will borrow to spend for their children. They think they have to, borrow thousands in order to let their children be happy. Which of course, it's it's some people go into debt because of this season. Never
application of
mind
Christmas.
they
Yeah.
haven't been
Mm.
able to cover last year's debt. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult
But
for
at,
the Bank of England.
yeah, but at the same time, with what I just read out there a while ago, lots of people will be benefited with this interest, with this national minimum wage up for the different youths. They're going to benefit somewhere along the way. Apprentice rate
Yeah,
applies to people
yes.
age under 19 or people over 19.
Well, yeah. I mean, people will benefit, but then
Yeah.
you ask the question about whether the big belly man will raise interest rates. I mean, if the big belly man raises interest rates, he's not going to benefit anybody.
Yeah. So you say it's like giving and taking it back. So I guess we'll have to watch and wait to see about that in regards to that. There's something interesting which came up though about the confirmation of 6.7% rise in benefits. A range of benefits received by millions of people will rise by 6.7% in April, in line with with the rising of rate of rising price as of September. You know, but there's something else which I saw about that. If people do not actually take advantage of the job seeking bit, they're going to lose some of that. Um, that was something that the chancellor mentioned as well. You know, there's a
Yeah.
complicated range of benefits. As an example, of a family with two children on standard allowance should receive about £900 more in the year from April compared with the previous 12 months, according to the Joseph Rowntree Foundation. The chancellor said the average increase will be 470 for 5.5 million household next year. You know, and there's a raft of bits there which he has been set out there, Gary.
Well, let's hope that they are. I mean, they do benefit the people. You see, again, even though the papers and BBC will say that there are 4.4, 4.5, or 3 to 5 million people that's going to benefit on these things. However, there are another set of million people that won't benefit at all.
They think the middle class don't really get
Some,
benefit from this.
well, some won't. You see, some don't have to rely on the state. Yes,
Yes.
some don't have to rely on the state. There are some whose they say that there will be a cut in NI and all of these things, but at the same time, who's paying for all of these? So
Well, yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
in some place for some people are going to have tax rises, isn't it? Because if
yeah.
they don't have it now, if we don't get to pay for it now, the the day is going to come when we will have to pay for the tax rises or the tax cuts today. That's
So
what we don't realize all the time.
what you're actually saying is that whatever is being given now, we're going to end up paying it, or another generation will pay it.
Yeah,
But that's the
it
same thing
it,
that we
it
said
always
about
happens.
this. Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah,
that
it
that,
always
that doesn't,
happens that way.
yeah, but that doesn't you know that doesn't really help though, Gary, isn't it? Because if that's the case, might as well just give people everything, because no matter what, things will always keep just give them everything. Because what they're saying, because of the a lot of increase which was going on, a lot of inflation which was having on, they said they have a lot of money which was made, and that is the money they are getting it from to create this interest rate, to create these increase for people.
Oh, no.
And sorry,
Okay.
and I think that people was worked very hard, especially over the COVID period. Actually, I've never had a break. I need to get something from them. I wonder if I can get anything. I never had a break during the COVID period. I worked continuously, consistently, and even did my show. You know what I mean? I don't think I get anything. Do I get?
Talk to Rishi, man. Talk to Rishi.
I saw Tony Kelly from Birmingham was on ITV yesterday, and um, he said something like that they're giving it and taking it back and rare. So I sent Tony a message and said, "You will not be going to Richie Christmas dinner." you know, and there some discussion down there in Birmingham. Yeah.
So what did he say?
No, I haven't heard back from him. I've heard back from him. It was. I'll send you the clip later. But yeah,
Okay.
that's very interesting. The chancellor's statement, and I hope people dissect it as much as possible because it is very important to dissect it. And like I said, what does it mean? Is it a tax cut? But remember the bigger picture. Deducting a fixed percentage of the money you earn from your wage, what you pay in pounds and pence depends, of course, on what you earn. Employees under pension age who earn less than 12,570 a year pay no NI, and neither do people over the state pension age, even if they are still working. For employees between 12,570 and 50,000, the current NI rate is 12% on earning and 2% on earning above that. You see, a lot of it is playing with figures, Gary. And they say, will we feel the benefit? The OBR says living standard as measured by real household disposable income per persons are forecast to be 3.5% lower in 2024 to 2025 at the pre-pandemic level, and the largest reduction in real living standards since official regard began in the 1950s. Yeah. So, so I guess as you say,
You see, again, um, figures. I mean, they can always, as the old people will say, they're just blinding people with science. You
mm,
know, they think that people, you give them figures and they will believe you,
yes.
at least some. But you know, what is it really? Do we Are we really feeling the benefit? I didn't
Mm.
see much anything about the petrol or diesel prices. Did they tax? Did they say anything about that?
I didn't hear them say much about that, and that is something which it goes up and go down, it goes up and go down, and of course there's going to be an increase in home, electricity and gas in the next year. They say it's going to be on the increase as well. Um, so I don't know if they're going to do any cushion for that as well, in the coming here, But I want to move from this because there's something which I saw very interesting um, in the week, you know, and it is the rise of the right, the full-fledged right in Argentina, Gary, and also in Dutchland, in mainland Europe. Persons who have been on the periphery for a while as somewhat, you know, come forward. I mean, let's. I don't know if you ever heard about this guy here in Argentina. Never heard of him. They say he's like they say the first person that congratulated him was Trump. You know, you know, first person that congratulated him was Trump. You know, very, very, very,
What is
very
it that he? What's his policies?
well. His policies is cutting away big government. You know, Argentina have elected a far right outsider, Javier Milei, 53, as their new president. With almost all the votes counted, Mr. Milei had won close to 56% in the decisive runoff ahead of his left wing rival, Sergio Massa. Yeah. They said this newcomer has been described as a political earthquake. And they say it has been welcomed by like minded politicians such as US President Donald Trump, who said Mr. Miller would make Argentina great again. Former leader Bolsonaro from Brazil said that hope would shine again in South America. They say sometimes dubbed El Loco, the madman by his critics, Mr. Miller has promised dramatic change, which include ditching the local currency, the peso, for the US dollar and blowing up the central bank. Blowing up the central bank in order to prevent it from printing more money, which he argues is dividing inflation. What do you think? What do you think? In a sense, that is happening. Even though I believe we have an understanding what's going on, where people are getting fed up, wanting to try alternatives, wanting to do
I
something
don't
which they
know. You see, I'm noticing around the world really that people, because of the state of situation of the political minefield that's around the world, I think that the voters around the world are they're looking for extraordinary leadership. I think they're looking for some leadership different from what we've always had or from what they've always had.
Yes.
So when you have individuals like like in Argentina there and in the Netherlands, it's an indication that people are looking for leadership, and I think that that may just happen again in America or in Europe or
But
in
I'm not,
Asia
yeah,
or in the Middle East because there is a political leadership vacuum
vacuum.
that is being formed
Mm,
that that at any time someone who has any inclination, anything that would signal diverse change, they may just have the chance, to fill that vacuum,
yeah.
Sylbourne.
Okay,
So I'm not
well, let's
surprised. I'm surprised,
yeah.
but not surprised.
Well, look at this geese. Look at this guy. Gert Wilder. This is from Dutch anti-Islam politicians celebrate his win. Gert Wilder doesn't like being called far right. He insists he's just speaking up for ordinary people. But it was only by putting on some of his more inflammatory policies on hold and dialing down his hardline rhetoric that he was able to broaden his appeal and secure election victory. You know, and the funny thing about these guys, he burst into Dutch national politics 25 years ago. He was nicknamed Mozart for his sweeping mane of blonde hair. His hair had grayed, but his power of communication are at the peak. He outperformed his rivals with his slick, bite-sized slogans on asylum and immigration during the almost nightly TV debates on the run-up to the vote. Netherlands can't take it anymore, he said. We have to think about our own people first now. Borders closed, zero asylum seekers. Do you think this is something that even the UK is pushing towards, and they're very adamant on these immigration policies?
Well, I think so. I mean, why do you think that they came out of Europe? It's the same thing.
Mm,
It's almost, I'm not going to say it's exactly word for word, decision by decision moment. I'm just thinking that the British people, and when I say that, I'm not only the older British people,
mm,
those, I think that they they like to go to France on holiday. They like to go to Greece on holiday. They like to go to Spain on holiday. They even like to live in these places. but then they
Yes.
don't. Some of these people don't want anybody to come here. You know, you got the far right, isn't it?
Mm.
Organization in this country that wants immigration, to be stopped. So I think it's something that could very well happen here, where if there's a party that is really appealing to the voters here, they could jolly well, yes, vote them in. The Conservative Party, to some extent, if you leave them to their devices, they would do just that, I believe.
In order to
Because look what they
secure.
do. They want to ship everybody to Rwanda. If you don't mind, sharp Sylbourne, you'll be on the next flight.
Well, as long as I get a spear, as long as I can have a spear and I can go and do some hunting in the fields, in the bushes, and
I
and
can't
and
see you going anywhere. You
and
wouldn't go
sing like
anywhere, Sylbourne.
the Zulus them. You know what I mean? Like the show
I can't
Zulus
see
many
you
years
going
ago with
anywhere.
Michael Caine. You know, I
If
always,
you, if you,
I always say this, Gary, all the while. If I'm ever deported, and they say to go to Jamaica, I'll be happy. I'll be happy to go to Jamaica, man. They send me to Jamaica. I'm
no,
yard.
I'm not talking about Jamaica. If you can't go down to the Asda store down the road from me, I don't know how you're going to go to Rwanda.
I always say this all the while. I always and nobody can answer the question for me. What's wrong with Rwanda? What's wrong with Africa? Which is another story as well, But nobody can ever answer
Well,
that question for me.
that's another topic for another time. But I mean, who who here in this country, you've
Mm,
got a job. If you got a job, you're living comfortable, you don't have a problem as such.
yeah.
Everybody has a certain degree of problems anyway. But
Yes.
who here really would pick up sticks and go to Rwanda? Not
Or
unless they're already in their experience or they know Rwanda.
mm,
But I'm not, again. I don't want to put a slur on
yeah,
to say that Rwanda is this and Rwanda is that, because
yeah.
I've never been. But
But when
but at
you
the same
yeah.
time, I
Mm.
wouldn't go. What am I going there for? Really, why am I going to go?
Well, of course, there's no need for you to go because it's not as if to say you are going about looking for some alternative with some economic climate and seeking some sort of uh, um, immigration away from where you were. So one is not expecting you to go there, but people are going to continents of Africa, Ghana, Nigeria. People are going back there, and people are actually sending messages and say this is a place to be, Gary. So and the president of Rwanda, even though they came through that period of the Hutus and Tutsi and the massacre which happened down there under the gaze of the world, like just what is happening now in the Middle East, under the eyes of the world, one is looking and see what is happening. I'm glad that there's somewhat some level of breakthrough, which is coming through in the Middle East, whereby there's a 4 day span, and I think they're going to be doing some exchange of the prisoners. What was very interesting was when they were asking one of the Hamas guy of the 199 people who were there, they're asking, can you confirm if how many people are still alive? And he couldn't confirm. He said, if Israel keep bombing the place and so like that, they can't guarantee that. Yeah. But Israel has also said that even after that has been done and the exchange has been done, they're following through with their ultimate policy. And the ultimate policy is that Hamas will never raise its head again in a neighborhood. It's like with America. Russia will never have their foot in Jamaica or Cuba. Yeah.
I
So
mean,
it's a,
Hamas is not a country. Hamas is a terrorist organization.
it's a bit
I
is it a
don't
bit
understand. Huh?
No, go on, go on, go on. You don't understand what? Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand the loss of life. You know, if, I don't know if you said that because you want to change the subject,
No, no,
change
no,
the
no.
subject of this, you know. But I can understand the loss of life. It's horrible. It's terrible what's going on down there.
Mm,
But people have forgotten that Israel would not be doing what they did now if Hamas did not break the fence and do what they did to 12 or 1400 people.
mm,
They wouldn't. I mean, Israel. Okay, fine. People could say that Israel was doing this and Israel was doing that. That's fine. People
yes.
always find something to say about Israel. So I'm not going to argue about that. My argument is that on October the 7th, what Hamas did caused Israel to react in this way.
Mm,
And because and because Israel has reacted this way and Hamas has always been a problem, a thorn in their side over the
mm,
years, right? Israel has said enough is enough. We're going to get them out there. We're going to eradicate them. We're going to get them out.
mm.
And even up until I think it was yesterday, where the prime minister
Yeah.
said that the leadership of Hamas, we're going to get you wherever you are in the world. I have sanctioned or given the authority for Mossad to take you guys out. That's what he said, isn't it? Isn't that what Prime Minister
That,
said? Ben,
Benjamin, that, yeah,
he,
yeah. Mm, mm.
yeah.
I wouldn't be
So
surprised. Mm,
yeah. Uh, I don't see why or how people can forget what they've done. I
yeah.
can't. I mean, all the demonstrations and then the threats and then the bombing that took place in Canada on the borders of the United States and Canada. You know, all of these things have happened. Why? All because
Mm,
Hamas on the 7th of October did what they did and Israel has retaliated. Enough is enough. Again, my example is on a very small scale, which
right.
man or which
Yeah.
woman in their home would just sit back and let their neighbors or someone on the outside break down
Come
their front door,
and wreak havoc.
yeah, and cause havoc in the house, and then you
Mm,
just sit down there, have a cup of tea, bun and
mm,
cheese, and watching and watching come dancing as if not
mm.
don't happen.
Or
No.
watching them in the jungle.
Or watching them in a jungle with Mac or with Nigel Farage. I mean,
Yeah.
who's going to do that? Who's going to
Uh,
do that, Sylbourne? It's not going to happen.
I,
It wouldn't
I, I,
happen.
yeah, I think in looking at the other side of it, a lot of people are saying, but the point that you mentioned, but for Hamas, but for that incident on October the 7th, we wouldn't have been here now, but for and what they're talking about is the proportionality of how things are, the proportionality, and I think we discussed last week as to how do they measure the death or so, and that is something which is very interesting. How do they measure the death? um but the latest development down there, and I want to go back to Europe with the right wing guys, but in wrapping up on the Middle East bit here, Israel and Hamas have reached a deal to exchange 50 of the hostages held in Gaza for a 4-day pause in fighting. When you listen to that, you shake your head and say, they're just, it's unfortunate that people are in this position where they are being used as bargaining chips, Gary. The agreement should also see 150 Palestinians held in Israel jails released and a significant increase in humanitarian aid allowed into Gaza. The mediator Qatar said the pause will start at 7 p.m. local time, 5 GMT on Friday, that is tomorrow, and the first group of 13 hostages will be released at 1600 hours. So of course, any family member who is expecting or looking for or missing their family who has been there will be excited about it. Yeah. And the US president has said that the deal will end the Osage unspeakable ordeal and alleviate the suffering of innocent Palestinian families. I don't know. Yeah. Don't know, Gary. You know.
Right?
And I say I don't know. I don't know. But it is like the bargaining chip of people, and the question is which hostage will be released, so we'll see. So there are a lot of unknown entities or so which is happening there. But as you rightly say, but for Hamas, but for that act on October the 7th, that's where we are now. Yeah, yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, I was talking about of recently about Mr. Geert Wilder. Geert Wilder is the hoping to be the Dutch Netherlands leader. He has gotten the biggest party in the Dutch parliament after Wednesday. I think it was 37. I think he need a lot more. What they're saying, Gary, is that the Europe is being spooked. It has spooked Europe because more than likely, that's a right wing national across Europe rushed to congratulate the populists. And there's also that lady in France, Le Pen. Remember that lady, Le Pen
Yes.
daughter.
Yeah.
More than likely, she's going to
Yeah.
rise again. Wilder was convicted of inciting discrimination. And the point about it is that if you don't have strong leaders and effective leaders, then leaders will appear. Leaders will come and appear and try to what should I say, mind fill the gap. And that seems to be what is happening in Europe at present now. A very unstable place because of the lack of effective leadership. And that's what happens. That's what is happening there now at this time. You know.
Well, that's across the board, I think lack of effective leadership is across the board in every area, in
Mm,
every area, politically, financially, and I would even want to say also, I
mm.
believe, in our spiritually,
Yeah,
because because let me say this. I mean, I believe with all my heart, I believe with all my heart that if the main religion in our
mm,
country was active and alive, then a lot of the things that are being allowed
yes.
by the government to do and to say, they
Mm,
wouldn't or they couldn't without a cry from the religious establishment. Because a lot of what is being done in Parliament and in government, it's debated in the House of Lords. And in the House of Lords, the Church of England,
reside.
um, yes, they know, if not all, let me be conservative to say that they know 50% of everything that's being discussed in the House of Lords, because they are there. They may not take active role, which of course they,
Yes.
they could, they should, but I don't
Mm,
know. I'm not there. So I can't say what they say or what they do from what they do not do.
yes.
But nothing. And I want somebody to come back to me and tell me that they do say something or they do something. I want them to come and say something,
Yes.
because if all of the other religious entities and religious bodies that's out there in the world comes into this country and is more or less given free reign to do what they do. But we who are Christians, we couldn't go to some of these countries and do anything like what they have the freedom here to do. and the mainline church, the high church, as they may call themselves, who is here, and the government hears them.
Yeah.
The government hears them.
The high level
They
churches.
have,
Mm.
yes, they have the ear of the government,
Yes.
but they don't say or do anything. Oh, it's freedom of speech and freedom of that and freedom of this.
Yeah.
But then what we fail to understand is that we don't have any freedom at all. Because the moment we then begin to do what we think we could do, we can't do.
You get a knock on the door.
I don't understand. I don't understand, Sylbourne. I don't
Yeah.
understand what's
Yeah.
going on.
Because even persons persons have been approached, and they get a knock on their door during the whole process of a demonstration. Um, and even so, because someone, if someone just reports someone, then they get a knock, which has got to follow it up. But you see, that is where we talk again, whereby if good people don't do anything, or leaders or persons don't rise up, if they just leave it to the leadership, then you can't say nothing. I mean, if we fly over into Jamaica, one of the things that many people are talking about is there are six MPs in Jamaica, or six prime MPs in Jamaica. They could even be ministers, could even be the prime minister, have been investigated for illicit, um, you know, well, I forget the word. What's the word again, Gary? Illicit. I did a video on it so much, No wonder maybe they put a spoken one more. I couldn't remember it. Illicit interests or illicit things, Gary. You know, they are being investigated, and they're just going on about their business. Of course, there are rules of laws and things that you got to deal with, but that is shocking. Where people allow these things to happen. You know, people raise questions about, um, there's a prime minister, and the wife is also, um, the speaker of the house, and a lot of these things. They say it's not illegal, but some of these things doesn't look good, Gary. But that happens when people do not rise up and people do not take their rightful place, because people do not understand the power that they have when it come on to these things. And that's one of the reasons why I believe the constitution debate in Jamaica for amendment of the constitution is dragging its feet, and you hardly hear anything anymore, Gary. You hardly hear anything more, because it's not in the interest of the government. It's in the interest of the people, but the leadership and the steering of it, it is not happening. It's not happening, Gary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just sad, Sil. It's just very sad the way how things are. People will always say that the opportunity is there for people for you to have your say. Have your say. Go to the right places. Go to the right individuals. Go to the council. Go to the MPs.
Yes.
Go here. Go there. Go to this agency. Go to that agency. State your case.
Yeah.
But still, then nothing does happen. Nothing does happen.
Mm.
And I don't. It's. I don't know. I don't
Mm.
know.
Well, well,
I
we,
don't
we
know.
we watch a space, and we watch a space to see what happens in the Middle East with the exchange of the different hostages. We watch a space to see if the big belly man, and when we say the big belly man, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the Bank of England governor, if they are going to raise the interest rate, because of course the money is not kicking in yet, so it's not happening yet. But when the money kicks in, are they on the periphery looking, or will they drop the interest rate and then in a position to raise it back, or so maybe, I don't know. But these are the sort of things there, Gary. And of course, watching the Middle East, um no, not watching the Middle East, watching Europe, with the rise of the far right, which we are seeing right before our very eyes. You know, it's a Gert Wilder, and also in Argentina. You know, that's very interesting developments, guy. Very interesting developments. The world is revolving right before our very eyes, and they say sometimes when things change, things remain the same. Yep. All right. So,
Yeah,
so
we're living in exciting times. We're living in very exciting times, and I think that all your listeners really should look out. We should look. Don't take things for granted.
yes.
Don't take things for granted.
Mm.
Look, listen to what the politicians are saying.
Keep
Listen
talking,
to
Garry.
what the
Yes.
financiers are saying.
Yes.
Look and listen to what the leaders of particular governments are saying, because
Mm.
they're sending signals. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
I don't think I've got the credentials for that.
Yes.
But what I do believe is being done is that we are being conditioned. The nations and the people of nations are being conditioned
Mm.
to accept certain things that will take place and certain things that are going to happen. I'm not only speaking about of religious things either, or biblical things. That's very much involved. I think every from the moment that man was made, from the very moment that we were born, from the moment I was born, the Bible has always been in effect. So we can't get out of that. But what I do believe is that we we we've got to take note of what's happening in our world. And what's happening in the world is not, it's by design. It's not happening by um, by by a course of fluke of nature. It's happening because um, it's all planned. So we just
Yeah.
need to be ready. Yes, we just need to be ready for what will happen, for what will take place. And as it has always been said. Well, when I say always been said, it's been always said in the last couple of weeks, really.
Yeah.
Almost every day I hear what Klaus Schwab said. We will own nothing, so we will have nothing, or we will have nothing, we'll own nothing, and that's always, if you notice, on in certain quarters, in certain debates, um, almost every day. And I know everybody can't listen to everything that's being said. That's virtually impossible. But people are mentioning that. People are saying it. And the more you say something, is the more you get used to it. So that when it does happen, it's nothing new. And and it's important that we understand what's being done. You say something long enough and frequent enough, when it does happen, it's nothing strange, because you've been told you won't have anything, you won't own anything, so you won't miss anything, and you'll be very happy. So we need to understand. We need to understand that we are being conditioned, and we've got to snap out of it. We have to snap out of it. Everybody, they want everybody to buy electric cars. What everybody doesn't understand is that at a flick of a switch, they can turn your car off and you don't even know what's wrong with it. When a Tesla breaks down on the road, it doesn't. You don't call your mechanic to look at it. You call Tesla, and you give them your ID number. They'll tell you what's wrong with it. You see, you've got to
Oh wow.
understand
Control.
that we are moving towards that. Any electric car that is being sold now, and I'm not an advocate, or I'm not working
Conspiracy theory.
for for the anti electric car agency, but it's a fact that every
Mm.
electric car just like any car at all, they have their VIN number. There's a code. They have their own
Mm.
code numbers. Yeah. So obviously, when your electric car breaks down, you're not going to the corner mechanic where you've always been for the past 30, 40 years for the mechanic to come and tow it and take it back and you pull the engine down. You don't do that.
Mm. Mm.
You contact the place where the car is made. You
Yes.
give them your code number and they just remotely tell you what's wrong or what may be wrong, and they'll come and pick it up and you get it fixed. Things are going to
Mm.
change drastically.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
fail to understand and see these things. We
Mm.
fail to understand and see these things.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
well, thanks for that, Gary. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we watch this space and we see how things unfold. Well, thank you so much. Actually, this is Thursday night. I think next Thursday night I got a
it is.
play to watch. I think I got a play to watch with my daughter. So you may have to do interview by yourself, if anything. I haven't had it, you know. I think I got something. So I might not be here next week. Exactly. Yeah, I might just call it. Yeah, I think I got a child play, some performance thing that she got to do. So that's very important. Better than everything else, isn't it, Gary? Look after the family. You
It
know?
is.
Yeah.
It is.
So, ladies and
Or
gentlemen,
you might
sorry,
have
Gary.
to,
Huh?
no, I'm just saying that if you don't look after your family, you may have to somebody may have to do an in review on you.
Interview on me exactly, and I'm trying to say, you know? and I think Saturday night again we talk about. I'm hoping to get a. There's a very interesting thing which is happening in Jamaica, whereby the millions which the MPs get. A lot of people think sometimes the money goes into their hands directly, and I understand some dynamics with it. And I'm wanting to get maybe 2 MPs from Jamaica, from different sides, to have a discussion with it with another person from Jamaica. That may be a special show which I do on one of those Sundays, called The Late One Spills. But Saturday night I'm back again. I will talk about there's a diaspora conference which they'll be having in mid-Europe, in mainland Europe as well. So I'll be talking about that as well this Saturday night. And hopefully we see who else can come on and talk about their products and stuff like that. Yeah. Gary, well, listen, have a good night. The reason why I moved a while ago is because my battery was going a while ago on my camera. I realized it wasn't charged properly. So, ladies and gentlemen, want
Okay.
to thank you. Want to thank you so much for joining tonight, and those on Instagram, those on Facebook, those on YouTube as well. And be good and take care of yourself, and don't let them control you, as Gary said. Don't let them control you. Gary, well, listen, all the best, and see you around, all right?
All right, man.
So,
Yeah, man. God bless.
bye bye.
Let's go.